You're watching F5. We are here at AppWorld 2025 at the Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. We are in the community area, and it's really great because we've got user experience, the F5 insiders. We have a podcast booth over there. We actually just finished recording, myself and Nathan. DevCentral and our NGINX community as well, open source as well. So great to have Nathan from Red Hat here. Nathan, can I get you to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Nathan with Red Hat. You can see that in my hat, the shoes, the socks, the brand. So I'm part of what's the field CTO organization that's proudly sporting the hoodie. So the field CTO organization is all about working globally with customers and partners on their outcomes, what matters to them, understanding their needs, and then bringing that back into our global engineering about what should be coming next, what is the white space, what are the opportunities that we need to focus on to realize outcomes. And to that end, I am the ambassador that takes the messaging and amplifying the value of what we bring as a team to both customers and partners from an external perspective, as well as the internal stakeholders within Red Hat.
So, I mean, as part of that, conversations that you're having, obviously, AI dominates a lot of conversations that are being had. Open source, as an open source company, where do you see this cross section between open source, AI? I think we've seen a couple organizations' stances on that. You know, we had OpenAI with the ChatGPT moment, and then fast follow, all of a sudden we have Meta, seemingly out of nowhere, but we all know that they were doing a lot of AI, and then they open source the Llama models. Where do you see, this balance between open source and AI, and how people should view that?
Absolutely. So, open source is the future of AI. And let me also share another dimension to that. As Red Hat, we are the world's largest enterprise software company with an open source model. So even though the world kind of sees open source as our middle name, we actually make it easier and more effective to consume what comes from the open source community. We harden it, we secure it, we make it enterprise grade, right? So that's what we stand for. Now, why do I say open source is the future of AI? First, if we go back, the lineage that we have, it's all about open platforms. Whether it is the operating system, whether it's the container platform, automation, and now when it comes to AI, we have actually just continued to adopt that approach because we have found that very effective. Customers need choice. Customers need the freedom of choice to run where they want to run, right? Francois today in the keynote, he talked about what CIOs thought the world would be like, where it is a single app in a single cloud, or a few apps in a single cloud. And then he suddenly moved to the right and showed the ball of fire that F5 calls it, which is basically multiple cloud environments, then edge environments, different virtualization environments, APIs, and then the world is much more complex. But his point was, which I completely agree with, is it is not a single cloud world out there. It's a hybrid cloud. It's a multi-environment model that we are talking about. At the same time, when we look at AI, how it evolved, you talked about Meta. I mean, there are multiple models out there. DeepSeek came out of the blue, right? So just like it is not a single cloud world, it is a multi-model world. It is not a single model world. Customers need the choice to run on the cloud of their choice, on the environment of their choice. Customers need to be able to use the model that best fits them. And I will make a bold statement. I will say none of these models that are out there are necessarily a best fit for any enterprise, which begs the question, what is the best fit? It is the model that is built on the data that is relevant to the enterprise. And we are seeing more traction, using smaller language models that are built on the data from the enterprise. That's where customers can get more value. So the role of open source, it's really the ability to build your own model and bring that model to the environment of your choice. That's how we are actually approaching AI, continuing to provide open platforms agnostic to the hardware, the virtualization environment, the cloud environment. You apply AI and innovate where you want, which is why I started with open source is the future of AI.
It's almost like AI and everything that's happening right now, there's a lot of innovation happening in AI, and we just talked about how open source and Red Hat, that's Red Hat's approach to R&D as well as the innovation that comes from open source. So it's like the open source is, and the innovation that comes from that is actually fueling the innovation of AI itself, like inception of innovation.
I couldn't have said it better, Boo. The field CTO organization, we are all about co-innovation. So no, it is not like, hey, let a bunch of field CTOs and chief architects and technologists, let's come together and innovate the next big idea. That's not even part of our charter, to be quite honest. It is to co-innovate with customers, co-innovate with the F5s of the world. Let's pair up and see what we can work on together. And then it can start with 2, it can be 4 and 6 and 8. And we have a tagline at Red Hat which we wholly embrace: no one innovates alone. And the whole idea is to have a purpose for innovation. What are we targeting? What's the problem statement? It shouldn't be, hey, this is a cool thing to do, but if it doesn't have an outcome that is meaningful to just our daily lives, to the end customer and their customers, why bother, right? So co-innovation fuels, co-engineering, and that dialogue fuels more ideas. It actually grows and nurtures some of the original ideas, and it takes different shapes and forms. And AI is in a state where there is a lot of experimentation and curiosity and excitement. And it is important that we actually put our heads together on what makes sense and what are some of the success stories that we have had, and honestly, failures, and what can we learn from. So it is not just open source that is the future of AI. It is that open mindset to collaborate. It is that culture of sharing knowledge. So a lot gets packed into open source. The world may think of software, but it's a whole lot more that actually comes with those 2 magic words, Boo: open source.
A word I think of when you explain all that too is humility. Being able to be open about failures, being able to be open about your ideas. There's probably not a lot of space for too much pride in that scenario. It's just sharing and being willing to say this wasn't right and I'm going to go in a different direction, or to say my idea was not the best one. My idea was good, but your idea was better, so we're actually going to integrate your code because I will accept that that's the best path forward.
It's funny you say that because the field CTO organization, we are out there meeting with customers, and yes, there are proposals, there are bids, and all of this that we go through from a sales perspective, right? And we compete. But when it comes to the open source community, it's like we are all equal. You leave your badge at the door type of thing, where you actually let's put our heads together and see what makes sense. And that actually is a very healthy environment. And yes, at some point, truth be told, reality check, yes, we have to wear the hat with great pride.
Yep.
And you wear different hats, right? And then that open culture of collaboration is really what makes it fun.
Yeah, it's really cool to be able to collect ideas. And to your point too, there's I think you mentioned this when we were recording podcast earlier, but meritocracy means your title doesn't matter. When you do a pull request on GitHub, you only see a GitHub ID. You don't see GitHub ID and then job title underneath.
Yes. Now that said, you earn the respect. You don't just demand it based on title and so on. So it's because of what you do, not just because of what your business card says.
Yeah, I see that with you pull up somebody's GitHub, you see their commits and you see what they're doing. You probably see progress. You see, okay, somebody who's got a lot of commits, you can kind of see improvement over time, and they've earned all of the knowledge that they have. So that openness of sharing, and yeah, it's a user ID, but it's associated with their code is more important, their commits is more important than what their job title is.
And to bring it back to your first question, that's a fundamental, vital need, ingredient for any company to be successful with AI. No company can do AI alone. That idea of, now, the type of use case and so on is what I am talking about. You know, what kind of prompt engineering or the inference and all of that, the science behind it is where they can collaborate. The data, I'm not necessarily saying enterprises just should open up the doors to all the data, you know, so the privacy concerns, compliance, all of that still applies. But how AI is applied to the data is where the collaboration must happen.
Very exciting time. To your point too, it's been great to be partners with Red Hat because of that co-innovation, and I see folks like Matt on my team, or on the broader F5 team, Eric G, Jennifer Young as well, who are hands-on working on co-solutions with you guys, and the rapid release of these solutions is different from many of our other partners. So that is very, very much true, and it's all open and out there so people can verify all that stuff.
And I want to say, I may almost claim knowledge firsthand about why that is happening. And I could not have said that before coming to AppWorld yesterday and hearing from Francois, the F5 CEO, both yesterday and today. The type of world that Francois painted about the multi-cloud world out there, how customers evolve from a single cloud to multiple environments, that's exactly what we are seeing too. I almost had to kind of check my calendar, am I at a Red Hat conference or am I at an F5 conference? What's interesting is we come to the same problem domain with different sets of solutions, complementary tools. A key message I took away from the panel I was on yesterday was that it takes all of us to actually make it real for customers. So when we understand the environment, both as Red Hat and F5, and then we partner, let's bring the widgets that we have and let's integrate them for outcomes for customers, magic happens. I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, I love it. We will have all that kind of information on this Red Hat partnership that we've developed so much with you guys, and we're very, very grateful for. I'm grateful for yourself, for Matt, for Danny, for Eric G, for Jennifer as well, and Frank behind the camera. Thank you for attending, and thank you, Red Hat, for sponsoring and supporting us as well. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, on X, on Facebook. We'll link up Nat Han as well and his socials. And otherwise, thank you very much, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.